Well, my favorite show, Lightning McQueen Racing Academy, is going away. We'll tell you what's replacing it. Also, we've got TRON Virtual Q is virtually going away. So much more to talk about tonight on ParksCenter. Welcome to ParksCenter for September 8th, 2024. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside, and again, thank you guys so much for being with us. We appreciate you spending your Sunday nights with us. We're going to have a lot of fun for the next 60 minutes, but if you have not already, please make sure that you lock your dogs up. Please make sure that you subscribe to this channel, and please make sure that you give us a thumbs up as it helps people to find us. Tonight, you guys are in for a real treat, starting with Kamila.
Hi, everyone. It's a great Sunday. A great Sunday.
It is. And Stephanie?
It's finally starting to feel like fall.
And back from like a long hiatus, Mr. Rob Bazemore. What's going on, fella?
Hey, guys. Great to be here.
Man, keep that energy the entire night. That's what I'm going to need from you. Just great. That sweet spot right there. That's going to be great. Thank you guys so much for being with us. We appreciate it. Let's get right into this because it's their house now. Anybody watch the Mickey Mouse, the House of Mouse? Did anybody ever watch that? There was a special called The House of Villains, and they had this little song they sang, "It's our house now." Nobody? Great, just me.
Yes.
Fantastic.
No, I did.
Okay. So we got this news that there's going to be a Disney Villains show replacing the Lightning McQueen Racing Academy at Hollywood Studios. And honestly, I had just gone to see it with my family the last time I was there, the Racing Academy. I think it was a neat little offering. I'm glad it existed down there. But it was one of those things that's kind of like you saw it once. That was fine. You didn't need to see it more than that, but it was a neat offering. I think a lot of people probably missed it because it was way down at the end of Sunset. But I actually had sort of a feeling that there was still a possibility we were going to put Monstropolis in this area, kind of hollow out the Rock and Roller Coaster, put the Door Coaster in there, use this area. Clearly, that's not going to happen at this point. So, Stephanie, do you love the Racing Academy, or are you ready for some villains?
I'm ready for it to speed on into the sunset, honestly. So I really feel like all that area was good for back there was for the kids when they're waiting for the parents to get off of Rock and Roller Coaster. You switch out and you take them back over to see Lightning McQueen. So that was pretty much it. And also, wasn't this the area that the Club Villain was there, the Upcharge event back in 2017? So they're just coming home.
Upcharge, you mean hard ticketed event?
Sorry,
Upcharge sounds, I don't know, it sounds a little weird there. I'm not really sure. Kamila, was this the first thing you did every single time you went to Hollywood Studios? Are you gonna be able to go back before it goes away?
You know, I might try to see it for the first time before it goes away, since I do have a trip in a few weeks. But I always felt like this was more for, the little ones and their parents. And so I never actually made it to see this. But I guess my only thought about this being switched out with, some type of villains themed show is, on the one hand, if we're getting a villains themed land, like, do we need this here? And then also, will it be something that scares little kids and it kind of like takes an experience or an attraction away from them? So that was my only thought, but I really can't speak on it because I never did it.
Wow. Rob, you were just in the greater Orlando area. So just tell me, how many times did you see Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy?
Rob, the line was so long, I just couldn't make it there. And I got up and tried to get a virtual queue for it, and I just couldn't get it fast enough. This is an interesting one, right? So, I'm glad to see that they're continuing around with entertainment, right? The other alternative probably would have been just to eliminate the show and not backfill it with anything else. So the fact that they're bringing in something new is exciting. Also, while the show probably will not still be around, obviously, when Villains Land comes into play, I think it's prepping people, right? There's going to be Villains IP and a focus on villains before the broader Villains Land opens up.
Yeah, honestly, I thought it could be a great place. I know, Kamila, you were saying, that about them, the Villains Land. I think it could be a great testing ground for them to try out villains, see what works, what doesn't. They've got in that concept art we looked at, they've got Cruella. Such a weird pull for villain. I don't know, like all the time. I when I think like of the big ones, I think of Jafar and and Maleficent and the Evil Queen, and basically I'm just running down the list of Once Upon a Time. Who are the baddies, and Mr. Gold,
Yes.
Rumpelstiltskin. Yeah, those are the ones. But I think it's a good place for them to test these things out. Somebody like Gaston, who was a great meet and greet character. I always wondered if that was sort of like a test thing that they were doing there. Sometimes they do test things, sometimes they just go for it. But I think it would be neat to see like what people react to, and it'd be nice to have something, as you said, Rob, something down there. No, don't just take something away, but put something else in its place, because that is a people eater of some sort. Every time I've been in it, hasn't been empty. So I think that's one of those things, and I'm sure, Kamila, you too. Every time you've been in, it's been. I'm just kidding. But I kind of like it. But the other thing that is interesting or of note with this is you've got a huge Lightning McQueen animatronic. Where would you put such a thing if you were going to repurpose some, $1 million piece of equipment like that? Maybe, I don't know, the new Cars Frontierland attraction might be a way to do that. So I think it's killing a bunch of birds. Do we do with one stone? I don't know. That's a thing. Yeah, that's sad. I didn't mean to do that. Before we move on, though, I do want to acknowledge our good friend Jungle Cruiser is here in the chat with a super chat. I can't put it on screen, but I do have to hit the music. It says, Stephanie, it's been over 100 degrees at DLR. Fall for us is at least 2 months away. I need full freezer of Mickey Premium bars, plastic melts. Thank you so much, Jungle Cruiser. We appreciate it. We'll get right on that. We're gonna have to. We'll get Stephanie fully furnished with all the ice cream she needs. But again, thank you for that. We appreciate it. All right, let's move on to this next one. So there's a land in Disneyland called Toontown, and in Toontown there's an attraction for Roger Rabbit, which is an anomaly at this point, because Roger Rabbit is something that is like kind of locked up in some legal battle for perpetuity because of Amblin Entertainment, et cetera, et cetera. So we're not really going to see sequels and things, but we do have this cartoon spin that exists in California. But it was unearthed in a podcast last week that they originally had thought about, when they put in Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, replacing Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin with a DuckTales attraction, which, again, the timing of which is so interesting to me, because we added the DuckTales World Showcase experience 1 to 2 years after it was off the air, and so it's like, okay, well, sure. So this came up apparently during COVID. Apparently they had that out in California too, and they decided to just leave Roger Rabbit where it was, make some PC changes, put Jessica Rabbit in a detective coat and make her somehow a detective like the movie, and then skip this attraction. But the cool thing when I'm looking at this, and I love the idea sometimes of looking back at the things that could have been, aka Stephanie, Cherry Tree Lane. But it's neat to look at stuff like this and see, okay, there was a full plan here for what was going to happen, and it's the same track system, or like track path, as Roger Rabbit, but I wonder if maybe they would have replaced it with something that would have been more like, a trackless ride system. Kamila, you've been out. I assume you've been to Roger Rabbit. If you haven't been to Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy,
actually.
And they actually would marry well together, because you could go learn how to race and then do it at the cartoon spin. But I mean, you probably would have been pretty upset if Roger Rabbit had left. Ooh.
I will say, I think I'm more neutral, to be honest, on Roger Rabbit, so I don't mind it. But if it were to leave, I don't know that I would be like show up to the funeral for that either. I actually like the concept of a DuckTales because I'm just imagining like like the theme song in there, like DuckTales, ooh, and like you're like speeding through the ride to that song. Like that actually sounds like a really good time. And it is a little odd to me that like we don't really have anything towards any of those characters, which I feel like all are still pretty beloved. Like I remember a few years ago when they had um, the new emo from the DuckTales. I can't remember her name, but like that was really popular
Webby.
and still a collectible. And yes, thank you. And people like trying to find it. So I'm interested in that concept. Honestly, I feel like they probably could replace it. I don't think, you know, kids these days back there in Toontown really have like a lot of love for um, that particular attraction or any of those characters. But I don't know. I'm a little bit neutral on the attraction in general.
Your contract says you were too young to say kids these days. So yeah, no, but absolutely. I mean, I love Roger Rabbit, but that's to your point, like '89. It's like my generation is like Roger Rabbit. I love Roger Rabbit. Such a cool concept. It was like Wreck-It Ralph and all these other movies that bring everything into one world. Free Guy, that kind of stuff. So I loved that movie. It was so cool. Like, oh my gosh, like Tweety and Sylvester in the same movie with Donald and Mickey. This is weird. But I wish there had been more, and so I love that it still exists somewhere. And I think it also exists in Tokyo, but it exists over in Disneyland, and I love that part of it. But to your point, how many people? And I know everybody at home is like, if you say DuckTales, it's like, yeah. I mean, it's just like Roger Rabbit, the shave and a haircut, like that whole kind of a thing. So it's one of those things that everybody loves. Why aren't there more things? I mean, the World Showcase adventure. I saw Jake in chat. Hey, Jake. Jake and my daughter and I all went and did the World Showcase adventure with the DuckTales one at in Mexico, and it was hilarious. Like the comedy of that is so good with Bobby Moynihan and Danny Pudi and Ben Schwartz as the three. But apparently this attraction wasn't going to include Scrooge. Like Uncle Scrooge it feels like part of the whole fabric. So it was interesting that it wouldn't be in there. So I hate seeing projects that don't get done. But at the same time, show me those projects because they're interesting, and I love that. In most cases, I'm like, well, why didn't you do that? Like that would have been so much better. But in this case, I'm like, leave Roger Rabbit. It's fine. My wife doesn't do it because it spins in circles. So not a fan. Not a fan. All right, let's move on to talk about Tron and the virtual queue, because virtual queue, if you guys have watched ParksCenter at all, you know that virtual queue gets on my virtual nerves, and I don't love the fact that if people who don't go as often as we do don't know about virtual queue and they stroll up to Tron or Guardians of the Galaxy and go, I'm going to get on, and they're like, up, have you paid your $20? Oh, also they're sold out today, so I guess you'll have to wait till next lifetime trip for this kind of a thing. So what they did was starting today. This is actually kind of funny, though. Starting today, they have eliminated the need for Tron Virtual Queue. And if you go into the app, it'll say, it's listed as the virtual queue. And then underneath it says, not using this today. And then underneath it says, as of today, you won't need this anymore. So it's like, why is it still there? I'm not really sure. But I was thinking before the show, let me check out and see how long the standby wait is. And it was like 45 minutes. And I thought, that's not that bad. But there's a Halloween party going on tonight, so yeah, exactly. So Stephanie, talk to me. Are you excited about this, or are you sad you won't be able to get up at 6:55 and grab a boarding group?
You know how much I love to do that. No, I'm glad that this is going away. I actually think it's going to make Disney a little bit more money because, like you're talking about, if people check, even if they walk up there, I mean, it's a long walk. And once you get up there, you see the line is stagnant, it's not moving, and it's a 2.5 hour wait. Maybe you go ahead and click, yeah, I want to buy the Lightning Lane. You know, maybe it actually makes them a little bit more money that way. But I do think that if you have a virtual queue, you're going to show up. You're going to show up and you're going to go because you don't want to waste that. Because like you said, you woke up early, you selected it, you're there. And so I think that it actually makes the line a lot longer. And then there will be some people that get there and they say, oh, it's too long. I can't go do it right now. And they turn away, you know. So maybe this is a little bit better for standby.
I totally agree with you about the, like, it makes it probably worse than it needs to be because you're limiting the supply, and so everybody wants it. And then people freak out, and you're right. There are probably a lot of people who are like, I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to get this for my family just in case they want to go. And then, 1 o'clock comes around, and some of them, like Tron and even Guardians, sometimes the 1 o'clock sticks around for a little while. So that there's not a huge demand. But every time I've ridden Guardians recently, and keep in mind, Guardians started virtual queue almost a year before Tron did. And Guardians is still on virtual queue. Please, someone stop that. But when you go to ride Guardians and you go through there, usually that queue inside is pretty empty, and so it's like it feels like you could do standby there. But Rob, you were just there. How many times did you ride Cosmic Rewind while you were there?
Just once. But first of all, I have to start by saying, what kind of animal sleeps past 7 a.m. On a Disney trip? I mean, really?
Those with 5 kids.
This is kind of a mixed. This is a mixed piece for me personally. I get the notion of those who have the lifetime trip, maybe not getting to ride the ride. Perhaps they only have one day. They're going to be at Magic Kingdom. But on the flip side, it's nice to not have to wait. And I don't think that 45 minutes is indicative of what the actual queue time is going to be. It's nice to not have to spend 2 hours out of your day to wait in line for a ride you want to, right? If they used virtual queues the way they should be used, the waits should be less than 30 minutes or less than 20 minutes, allowing you to get a lot more enjoyment out of the park instead of waiting in those long queues. I also agree with Stephanie that I do think that, getting rid of the virtual queues will probably increase the rate at which the individual Lightning lanes are sold out, because people will want to guarantee they can get onto the ride. So I bet you'll probably see, that 1 o'clock queue go much faster than it has been over the past few months.
Gotcha. Kamila?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, just the most surprising thing about this is the fact that Guardians, to your point, still does use a virtual queue, and Tron is already moving on from it. I mean, I think there is a discrepancy between the two rides. I think one is more favored over the other. I'll let you guess which one is which. But, the biggest thing that I notice about Tron, and the only thing that makes me a little nervous for it moving to the virtual queue, which of course it was always going to move away from a virtual queue, but that line in general to me is one of the rougher ones in all of Disney. I don't know why, but to me it just moves very slow, even when it did have a virtual queue. So I'm curious about the experience, even if it says it's a 45-minute wait. It never really feels like a line that you really just kind of move through. It just feels like it's forever slow. So.
And is it just me, or does that line always feel so hot? Like it feels no matter when it is, it's 100 degrees waiting in the Tron line.
Yep.
Well, it's right up next to the sun.
Right.
Yeah.
So
true.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I saw somebody in the chat say that they're going to miss the virtual queue. I know, Rob, you said that you felt like you would like that to be a thing. I still feel like it would be nice if you just decide that's how I want to spend my day is riding Tron. That's the thing I want to do. If you have the choice to do it because you don't have to wait for a boarding group and you want to spend those 2 hours, like you said, then you do. There was just so many times that the virtual queue just burned me. One time again, was meeting up with Jake and my son, and we were like, we got up at 6:55, and again, sorry for sleeping in on my vacation, dude. I apologize, but we got up at 6:50. Yeah. We got up at 6:55 and got the virtual queue, and it was like, okay, you're boarding group 1. Son of a, okay. All right. So now I got to go because they were very militant at the very beginning about, and if they may still be a little bit at Tron, about making sure that you were there on or around your time. And if you missed your time by too much, they were like, no, you can't do this. It was near the beginning. So, we're racing to the Magic Kingdom. It sounds like a book, Race to the Magic Kingdom, and trying to get there so that we can get boarding group 1. And then when we get there, they're like, oh, it's down right now.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
my God.
I'm sorry, what? It's down right now. You're down right now. It was not great. So I like the freedom to do what you want to do. I like that with Rise. I like that it's standby now. Back in the day when you could only ride it once, and it was only if you got the boarding group. And I remember standing on Main Street at Disneyland trying to get the boarding group, and then you miss it, and then it's like, well, crap. I hope we can get it at 1. Nope, can't get it at 1. Okay, we'll ride it next time. It's fine.
Yes.
If it's something you really want to ride, and I saw a woman arguing with somebody saying, "Hey, this is like what you advertise as the thing to do here," and now we didn't know that you couldn't just walk up and ride it. You remember that used to be the thing.
Thanks for bringing up that trauma, Rob. Holy,
remember that?
Trying to move past that. Oh my gosh.
That was so bad.
You can't just bring that up. That was a really dark time in Disney history.
Bill would get on the sound system and go,
yes.
"Ladies and gentlemen, in 5 minutes,
really
the
dark.
queue will open for Rise of the Resistance. We know."
The heart palpitations.
Yes, and
Oh,
you're
it was bad.
shaking, and then you're surrounded by people, many of whom are cheering. Some people though are sad. I mean, it was really traumatic as someone who went through it myself, trying to get in. And the first time I tried, I did not make it. And everything you had to do to get there on time, you had to be up super early. You had to be inside of Disney at one point. There's so much trauma around this. You can't just bring this back up, Rob.
I'm sorry. And
you need to have a warning before.
Mr. I know your trigger warning. Mr. Bazemore, the thing you just said in chat, say that out loud.
Yeah, so the same thing actually literally did happen to me last week at Tiana's. We slept in till about 6:30 so that we could get our virtual boarding pass, and we got there and they called our name, and we literally got to the front of the line and they closed it. We were about to walk on, and they closed it. So we were planning on not being at Magic Kingdom the next morning. But we did have to rearrange our reservations so that we could try again first thing the next morning. And on top of it, this was even the worst. So we did make it through the queue, and we were about to go on. We were literally we were about to go step onto the flume, and it shut down. And we had been told that on most occasions when it goes down, it's down for an extended period of time. We were very fortunate. About 4 or 5 minutes later, we were able to get on it. But we were, we'd spent quite some time. The virtual queue the line was still very long. Even with the queue, we waited in the line almost an hour. And then again, to get up and be looking at the ride, the people in front of us got on, and then it went out. We got the announcement.
Bad luck.
You don't want to get on when it goes out, though. That does not sound fun.
No. But to be honest with you, if we hadn't gotten in, as glutton for punishment as we are, we would have rearranged our plan the next day, because that's the one ride that I wanted to ride when we were there. So even if all 4 days we had to start trying to get on, we certainly would have.
Wow. Yeah, I've done that before too. Like when Cosmic Rewind was fresh, I was reserving every day at Epcot, because I'm like, if we don't get it today, then I'll have to try again tomorrow. And if we don't get it tomorrow, I'll have to try again the next day. Or same thing with the Hollywood Studios back in the day when Rise was on VQ. So again, it's the struggle is real. I'm just happy again during the pandemic, and then afterwards, there were so many changes that happened with the parks, with the park reservation system, the virtual queue systems, all of these new things that came up, that I'm happy when one of them sunsets. Now we still again have Tiana is still VQ, and we still have Guardians of the Galaxy, and then of course in California we have the Haunted Mansion Holiday, which I was out there for D23 and I couldn't ride it because you couldn't ever get the VQ. So yeah, it's a thing. Anyway, let's move on to something much less important, which is Halloween plastic. So there are a lot of Halloween sippers and buckets, and yet this year they all seem to be staggering out, because it's almost like nobody told the merch or the whatever department this is, food and beverage probably, that hey, we're gonna start Halloween August. We're gonna start Halloween, and they're like, some of that stuff may be late. So some of the stuff that's out there right now for Halloween. So you've got this great sipper that lights up that's out in Disneyland, and then you've got the Mater bucket that is the Vampire Mater, and then they announced this, and oh boy howdy, and again, I know my boy Jake's in chat going, give me some of that. This Stitch is perfect. He is so good. The way that it opens up with the mouth and to get the popcorn, and so good, and that comes out this week. Meanwhile, on the East Coast, these are only at the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, is the Mickey and the Pumpkin, and of course the vampire teddy bear from Nightmare Before Christmas. Out in California again, they had this tree, the spooky tree flight last year that sold out in like a day. And there was a Club 33 version and a regular version, so that is making its return. And then, this little guy, this little sipper for that's the alien from Toy Story dressed up like Buzz. I don't think anybody else on this panel has the plastic problem that I do. So this is probably me just talking a lot of nonsense. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at it, and the only person that agreed to talk about it was Stephanie. So, Stephanie, tell me how cute this Stitch bucket is. Come on.
Okay, Stitch is adorable, I will say. I already got my Mickey, okay. So I've got that one. But yeah, Stitch is adorable. I'm headed to Disneyland in a few weeks, like, and I'm looking forward to that. And so that one, and a Green Alien fan, but that Sipper is really cute too. I think they're cute.
Okay, well, I had to go get a prop, though.
Oh, good. Yes.
Oh my God.
Winnie.
What were you gonna say, Kamila? Are you gonna roast me? Don't roast me. Come on.
No. What I'm gonna say is I had to have a talk with myself, okay? Because I have a pantry, an entire walk-in pantry, and instead of food being inside of this pantry, there are popcorn buckets from Disney that are like my entire top shelf.
Oh, we have to see a picture
and
of this.
I don't use them for anything. Like, so I had to take myself out of this because I have too many as it is.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a problem. I need to probably take the entire room I'm in and make it all like built-ins just for popcorn buckets and sippers, because I love them. Like, I love seeing like how intricate some of these things are. Like, this is the Mickey birthday one where the hat comes off, and like that was a neat one. And then they also have, again, the Winnie one, as you mentioned. That one's still available this year on the East Coast this time, but most of the stuff usually only comes to Disneyland. So it's great that some of this stuff is coming to Disney World, and then also Disney Cruise Line. So the Stitch popcorn bucket and the Green Alien Sipper are both going to be also not only at Disneyland, but also on the Disney Cruise Line. And I think there's a rumor that the Sipper might also be coming to Disney World. But the Vampire Teddy, hopefully somebody's taking notes. The Vampire Teddy is going to be available at some point at Disneyland too, which I'm a little salty. I'm a little salty because, again, most of the time Disneyland gets all the good stuff, and then we don't get it out on the East Coast. But this time I was like, scoop Disneyland. No, it's just late getting to Disneyland. It's still coming there. It's fine. So, oh my gosh. So we got another super chat here from Jungle Cruiser, who is an enabler if I've ever met one. He said, put me in, Rob. Would spend hours talking Disney plastic, now up to 72 sippers and buckets.
Wow.
Oh,
That's impressive.
Yes, absolutely. That's awesome. Anyway, and for everybody else who's going, y'all be crazy. I'm sorry. It's a thing. And they're just, I don't know, stop making them so cool. And the funny thing is, like, the ones in Japan are so much cooler. So, like, boy, like the one that Desi brought back, I don't know if Desi mentioned she went to Tokyo. The one that Desi brought back, that's the Neverland one, that, like, the clock tower, that one looks great. Awesome. The Beauty and the Beast one that they did. I bought my wife the Small World one. The only thing I ever asked for somebody to bring me back from Japan was that one. And, they're just really good. The Monster Door one, that one was awesome too. I'm gonna stop. Let's move on. Let's talk about some other spooky stuff. Is we talked about the fact that they've rolled out Halloween. We've talked about it for weeks now about Halloween. Every week there's something different that we've been sharing with everybody. But now we have some stuff that, and again, Rob, you just got back. from Disney, and so Disney World. And I know, Stephanie, you've been there not so long ago, but we've talked about all the snacks. But on the website, wdwnt.com, they have amassed the 7 best and worst 2024 Halloween food and drinks at Disneyland Resort. The one in the middle, this Dole Whip thing, those eyes look like they're made out of sushi, and so the idea that ice cream, I know they're not, but like the idea that they would put the ice cream and sushi together would be crazy. But there's a lot of cool looking food here. I don't know, Rob, did you get any? I know this is Disneyland I just showed, but did you get anything at Disney World from the Halloween offerings?
No, we really didn't actually. We didn't get around to it. We ate so much food and some other snacks, and we didn't get around to the Halloween snacks. I wish we'd had more time.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess that's okay. We can give you a pass on that one. Stephanie, when you went, did you do the Halloween party? I can't remember.
I didn't do the Halloween party, but we did do a specific snack go around, and we ate at the plaza too. So I had the burger. I can't remember the name of it, but it had the darker bun. And then I got the graveyard shake. And that was great, but it was very, very sweet. So if you're not a fan of uber sweet things, then don't get that. But I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes for Disneyland. I'm making my list.
What about
Gotta
this?
have a churros.
Sweet potato cheesecake dipping sauce. You were talking about
I'm a fan of sweet potato. Yes, I'm a fan. Like, I'm going to try that. I think that sounds pretty interesting. And they always have a great flavor combinations out there. I mean, you said it yourself, Rob. You had the peanut butter and jelly mac and cheese or whatever. So I'm going to try the weird stuff.
Okay. All right.
I don't know.
Well,
I really want to try the Scar Car apple. That looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Scare, I think, instead of scar. Scarecrow? Scare car?
Scare car.
This thing.
It's really cute, actually.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. When you said scar car, I was like, is there some kind of a scar themed food that I don't know about? That's crazy.
But don't those look? I can imagine how much time it took them to make those. They just look amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably you just want them for Instagram. Like, that's all you want. I mean, I don't even know if you care about eating it or not.
I'll paint my nails to match.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and maybe get one of these bags while you're there. These Hocus Pocus Harvey bags look pretty cool. So, Kamala, I know we've talked about in the past, and you're a huge Halloween fan. Any of this stuff like really look amazing to you?
So I will say I will be in Disneyland in a few weeks to go to Oogie Boogie Bash, which I'm excited for, and the sour apple beignet, which I feel like the WWNT team said they did not like and that it was a skip. I want to try that for myself because there was a couple years back where they had maybe a sour cherry version that I loved. And so if this is anything close to that, I want to try it. Usually they kind of tend to do the specialty beignets and their chocolate, or maybe they're more on the fruity, but when they do the kind of sour, it almost tasted when you dip into that that sour dip or fun dip or whatever it's called. It reminded me of that. There was a beignet that was like that a few years ago and I loved it. So I need to see if this is close.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, please try it and report back to us. That would be fantastic. Also, I don't know, you're a Magic Key holder, right?
Come on, that's mean.
Sorry,
I forgot. This is brutal. I'm not doing this show anymore.
Sorry.
The rise drama.
Last time
I'm not a Magic Key holder.
Last time we were on, you were on. We were talking about the fact that the next day that pumpkin wreath was going on sale, and you were like, "What is it?" Every time I come to this show, everything has a price tag on it, and I got to spend money on something, and it sold out the next day. So there you go. I was gonna ask if you were gonna try to pick up these cards that they're doing for Magic Key holders, but apparently that's not a thing that you're gonna do. So I won't even mention it.
What's so brutal is literally I went to go finally get my Magic Key, had saved my put money aside, did it responsibly, and it was literally the day that they pulled them from the website because they were getting ready for D23 or whatever. So it was terrible timing, and I'm suffering because that Disneyland ticket for my non Oogie Boogie Bash day was not cheap.
No.
It was like
No,
half
for
of
sure.
the price of the Magic Key. Like, come on.
Yeah. No,
Wow.
totally understand. And Stephanie, both of you guys, whenever you guys go out there, you should check out the stuff that they do at the
Yes.
Grand Californian. These huge like foods, like cakes or whatever they are that they make, are just amazing. And so this is the new one that's at the Grand Californian, and it's so fun. I always go over just to see whatever's there. I'm sure I'm not supposed to be in there because I ain't got Grand Californian money. Looking at you,
Grand
Rob.
Cal is for
But
everyone,
Always
Rob.
looking around. That's right.
yeah, exactly. Anyway, that's one of those things where I'm like, okay, it would be nice to be able to stay here and walk by this thing every day, but they get their own entranceway and everything. Let's move on to talk about the holidays because it's snow time soon. Get it? Snow time soon. Nobody?
But
Yeah, the
Oh, we
first
get
of the
it.
parties. Oh yeah, you do. The first party for Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party has the first one that has sold out. So if you were planning on going to that, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. But what it will not be sold out, probably the entire time, will be the Jollywood Nights, because last time they didn't sell out, did they? I don't remember if that was a thing or not, if they sold out. I feel like every night there were still tickets available. I don't know why, because it felt like a pretty good event, I thought.
Yeah.
So they've announced that the reservations, the reservation opening date for the Jazzy Holidays at Hollywood Brown Derby during the Disney Jollywood Nights. Now, here's my thing about this. And Stephanie, maybe you can weigh in on this one for me, is I feel like when you go to a hard ticketed event, I feel like the last thing you want to do is make a reservation somewhere and sit for a couple hours while the meter's running on that kind of a
Right.
thing, right? Like it's a cool offering, but like I feel like you wouldn't necessarily want to do this.
Yeah, so that's similar to the dessert parties at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, or dining during Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, because you're wasting your ticket time, right? Like if you get in at 4 p.m., great, and you can ride some rides and do whatever. And then maybe you do want to have a dinner and sit down for a few hours and relax. But during the party time, you have those limited time offerings. And so that's what you really want to do, is you want to go see the characters like Duffy that you don't usually get to see, Santa Duffy and Santa Stitch or whatever it is, And yeah, exactly. And the lines get very long for those guys. So you want to go get them early, or you want to stay till the very end and go over there, like be the last one in line. But they do cut them off, before the party ends too. So yeah, I think it's a fun idea. We didn't do it last year. We did the Jollywood Nights, but we didn't do the jazzy dinner thing.
So I did the Jollywood Nights, and we actually did Brown Derby before the event started, and so we saw them kind of starting to set up. And as I walked out, they had a huge line of people who were like doing standby to try to get into this jazzy thing. And I'm like, it's just a keyboard sitting on a pretend piano case. Like, again, I'm sure it's great. Great, but like it was one of those things where I'm like, time's ticking. Like if I'm going to try to see Santa Duffy, and I never found him, by the way, that was kind of a bummer. I know, right? But Santa Duffy, the Three Caballeros, the Santa Stitch, that's awesome. Like I want to do those things, going down to do the TikTok club that they had set up, which was really weird because it was almost like, hey, here's a drink cart outside, and a drink cart and a band outside of the gift shop to the Tower of Terror. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, but to me, my favorite thing was the Haunted Mansion sing along. I mean, the Nightmare Before Christmas sing along, because
Yeah.
I thought it was the puppet was amazing to see up close. They didn't banter. It was all mimed, which was, my son hates the Frozen sing along for that. He's like, he doesn't like the citizens of Arendelle. I do. He does not.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's like, pass. So we don't do that. But Kamila, anything on Christmas before we move on?
I'm so torn on this one because I will be in Disney World in early November, and I already just barely got my ticket to Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, and it was a really, like, it took me a while to think, do I want to go to Jollywood Nights or do I want to go to Mickey's Very Merry? I decided Mickey's Very Merry was, for me, the better use of my money for the ticket. But I do have a little bit of fear of missing out and wondering if when I went to Jollywood Nights last year, you know, I didn't have the Santa Duffy. And I'm still bitter about that. So it's like, do I go? But I will say, like, what's brilliant about Disney is the way that they can just make money on money, because you're paying for this extra event and then you have to pay an additional to be able to do, you know, this ridiculous little jazz whatever at the Hollywood Brown Derby. And absolutely it's not worth it. But what they're betting on is like, you're going to walk in and be like, oh, what do I do? How do I get, like, you know, the Christmas vibes? Oh, everyone, you know, is like trying to get this additional, you know, paid ticket within a paid ticket on a day that, by the way, the tickets for the normal park day are not cheaper just because it's closing early. So, I mean, just listen, brilliant how they are able to manipulate us in this way. And it works every time.
I love how you said they're making money on money. That's exactly right. Like when Stephanie, when you were talking about that, like the fireworks party during the Not So Scary, I'm like, yeah, that's a hard ticketed event inside of a hard ticketed event.
Yes.
That's crazy. Like I get doing it at, I mean, I literally would advocate for, if you could afford it or swing it, to do a dessert party during the regular Magic Kingdom, during Happily, and here's why: is because if you've ever seen a shot of Main Street when that thing's going on, good Lord and butter, it's nuts, it's crazy, and so my wife doesn't love being in huge crowds. My daughter doesn't love being in huge crowds. So to me, to be able to experience it in that little grassy area in a very controlled environment is worth that kind of money, and especially if you do the one with the desserts after. Because you go and you see the show, and then afterwards you meander over there while everyone is beating each other up to get out of the park or fighting on the ferries or whatever people do when they're leaving the fireworks. And you go and you hang out over there and just do the dessert party then. If you do it beforehand, then you just eat dinner and then you got to cram the food down and then go out there. I feel like the after party is the way to go. Or if you can swing it, the seats and treats or whatever, that one where you just sit there and you're like you're protected on all sides like a force field, and then you just wait for everybody to leave. Yeah, that one is.
I just booked Jollywood today, and now I have FOMO now. I'm definitely going to book Brown Derby. That is so. The thing is, I know I'm being manipulated, and I don't even care.
Yes. Take the money.
Yeah. That's why they're so smart.
Rob's like, take it. I just, exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
So, no, dude, I feel like you're not serious. Let me roll this back again, because we missed the super chat from Jungle Cruiser. So, again, hitting the. Jungle Cruiser says, my house catches fire. It's a level 5 hazmat response. Again, talking about those 72 sippers and buckets that are at the house. And I don't blame you. Like, I would insure the heck out of that. Like, I'd go on eBay and check how much each of your thing is worth, and then just go insure all those popcorn buckets. Like, that's your retirement. It's sitting right there. It's waiting for you. So, that's awesome. Thank you, Jungle Cruiser. We appreciate you. So this is not a huge breaking news story, and I'm sorry for that, but it happened this week, and I was just like, I feel like we need to talk about this because there's been something happening. Okay, we talked about this on Shannon and I did a review of Toy Story on Deep in the Plus on this past Wednesday, so go check it out if you haven't. But we were talking about Toy Story Land, because why wouldn't you? And how, like, I feel like Disney keeps doing Toy Story dirty because they don't give them a dark ride or something huge for a 30-year class. It's their Snow White. Like, they should be, it should be like raised up on a bigger pedestal than the plastic land that they built at Hollywood Studios with no shade. So, like, I love that they added the Roundup barbecue. That's one of my favorite meals at Hollywood Studios is Roundup barbecue in a land of great meals. That's one of my favorites. I love the experience, the whole deal. glad they added that. Then Woody's Roundup, they've been building like a kitchen or something, but they were supposed to be making like more seating, and I don't know. But in the meantime, what they've decided to do, very classy move, is they've decided that they put all the tables that for people who want to eat Woody's lunchbox down into the pathway that goes into Galaxy's Edge, very closely preserving the magic that is the immersive experience of Galaxy's Edge.
Sure.
I mean, I don't. It seems silly to me. I don't know. Kamila, maybe you have thoughts on this.
It's very serious business, because here's the thing. The food at that little station, whatever you want to call it, I don't know what the term is, okay? I didn't work at Disney, I'm sorry. But the food is actually decent. The problem and the reason why I half the time feel like I want to skip it is on a good day, already it's so stressful and hard to find anywhere to sit. Now you've taken that seating and, you know, it's up to someone to just realize like, oh, they're seating over by Galaxy's Edge, but, you know, realistically, not everyone is going to. So, you know, I don't know. Look, I guess in the long run, they are doing work to try to make it a better experience overall, which is good. It's just brutal right now. It'd be nice if they put like maybe a cast member or something nearby to be like, hey, they're seating, you know, this way. It just would be a nice touch.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah, it's you know, again, it's the only place that you could eat in this land, but the land was really kind of like, hey, we took the entrance to Toy Story Mania and we put it on the back, and then we made this Slinky Dog coaster that has 60% less show scenes than we promised you. We didn't make Al's Toy Barn that was going to be awesome, but you don't get that. And then we got Jim Hanks to do the voice of Woody. So you're welcome. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Stephanie, I mean, I know that you said that you didn't really have any thoughts on this one, but I mean, Toy Story Land in general?
I mean, I agree with all that you're saying. And even if you're looking for something for little kids to do, they can do, you know, the Toy Story Midway Mania. You can do that, you know, but you can't do, or the, whatever.
Alien swirling saucers.
They can't do the alien swirling saucer. Yeah, right. They can't do that because it's a height restricted ride.
Oh,
you were about to say the acronym, weren't you? Not on this show. No, you save that stuff for somewhere else.
Can I say one more thought? It would be so fun if, like, you know how like at the Roundup barbecue they're like, Andy's coming, and it's like a whole thing. It would be so cute if they did that, like, within the land. Like, if, like, periodically throughout the day, there was, like, a little voice that was like, Andy's coming. And, like, everyone, like, had to, like, hide or something. I don't know. I think that'd be so fun.
Yeah,
Disney,
everybody
if you're listening, you can steal my idea. No TM.
No TM. Everybody who was in line for Slinky Dog Dash for 2 hours would love that if they did that every like 8 minutes. That would be fantastic. They would love that. Yeah, I don't know. You know what? Slinky's a fun coaster, but it's not a buy Lightning Lane multipass just for it coaster, I feel like. But I wonder, it seems like it would make more sense at this point to make that a paid Lightning Lane, single lane type of a situation. But you know, that may be the same situation that we're running into with these other attractions, is that there's a huge demand for it because it's so hard to get. People want it. I don't know. We're going to move on next to talk about Snub 33. You like that? Came up with that all by myself. There was a story that took place about a couple who had Club 33, and we want to feel real bad for these folks that they have Disneyland Club 33. You know, F in the chat for these people that they're not going to be able to get back in to Club 33. So they had gotten their Club 33 membership revoked because basically the husband was found, as Disney said, intoxicated over at Disney California Adventure. The lawyer that they hired said it wasn't that, it was something else, and they spent, I think it was like $400,000 in legal fees to go through and try to get back into Club 33 that they already had to pay. And at Disneyland, I don't know if it's different from Disney World, but it was like $30,000 admission. It took them a couple years to get in. I'm sure they were on a waiting list, and then, you know, the yearly fees to get into it, and they wanted to get into it so bad they decided to sue Disney, and the judge was like, nope, not getting in. Rob, as someone who probably would pay this kind of money to get into Club 33, because you've got DVC, I know that, like you're like upscale DVC, right? Like Grand Floridian or something like that. What are your thoughts on this?
So first of all, I applied for Club 33 for years and been on a waiting list. So just it eats at my soul for people who have the privilege to be part of it and then mess it up. But it's more than that, right? So I saw that they there was no breathalyzer, and I saw that the gentleman's physician said that he had some kind of a brain aneurysm or something that would mimic the symptoms of being drunk. But I believe there was also a prior incident just a few years prior where that wasn't made. So I think it's probably just they hold these members to a very high standard, and he'd already had one previous shot previously, and I'm sure they probably have records of the actual number of drinks he had, right? So you can't really kind of get around that when you're a closed park at Disney. I'm sure they knew exactly how many drinks he had. And it's sad that he lost something that meant so much to them and wasted so much money trying to return it. It's just it's a sad situation.
Yeah, I had to double check myself about that $400,000. I was going through our article because Craig in chat was like $400,000, and it says Scott, who owns an Arizona golf course, said he has spent about $400,000 fighting Disney's decision. My retirement is set back 5 years. Again, drop those Fs.
More that's poor decision making right there, right?
Yeah.
Just in reality.
Yeah,
5 years of
Stephanie.
retirement.
I mean, as
thoughts on
Elsa says, just let it go. Like, at this point, just let it go. Because I just feel like you had a privilege, like Rob was saying. Like, you were on this list for who knows how long. Someone had to die or leave or go bankrupt or something to be kicked out of Club 33 for you to be put in. And then you're going to just squander it in this way because you can't hold your alcohol. I think that's a shame. Now, I will say they had an expert testimony, neurology come in and say that he had headaches, I think is what it was, and that can mimic some of the symptoms. But I think in the legal world, you can find an expert for anything that you're trying to prove. So who knows? I don't know all of the details and all of the evidence, but it's a shame. And they just need to let it go.
Yeah, Kamila, did you want to weigh in before we move on?
I mean, I just feel like no way is Club 33 worth all of this. Like, I'm sure it's fun. I'm sure it's a good time. I'm sure you feel special being a part of it. But all of this, just let it go. Yeah. I agree. Let it go. I mean, I don't get it. But, I'm not a part of the club, so.
It's like he has a vendetta. Like, he doesn't care. He's going to put himself into ruin just to stick it to Disney.
Makes no sense.
I mean,
the house always
why wouldn't
wins,
you?
Man.
Exactly. Exactly. I feel so vindicated. Yeah, let's move on a little bit because Rob talked about Tiana and the attraction Tiana's Bayou Adventure has been open in Walt Disney World since July, I think. Is that right? July, I feel like, and so now we are on the wait for the one in California to open up. We know that it's going to be November 15th. That's been announced. They announced that at Club 33, but just like before when we were watching them try to open the one up in Florida, we're standing here like we're sending out reporters and they're taking pictures of empty logs floating down, and which again, it's always interesting to me that the logs for the mountain in California are single rider, whereas the ones in Florida are double, and then the Space Mountain in Florida is single, whereas the ones in California are doubles. It's so, I don't know, maybe it's not that interesting. I just thought it was a little bit interesting. Also, there's a little Tiana Golden book that came out that is now available at the Magic Kingdom. So if you need a Tiana Golden book, which I definitely do, that's a very cool thing. And then the Pooh Corner shop reopened, and then Lewis's Critter Club sign and a display window in Bayou Country at Disneyland have opened, which is, again, very similar to what we saw with the Critter Co-op that happened just before they opened up those windows so that you could see what was happening before the attraction opened up. So a lot of little things are taking place that are moving us closer to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. If you want new information every single day, go to wdwnt.com. We sprinkle it in on ParksCenter and talk about it like every third show, maybe fourth show. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we get closer, and there's other things there. But Stephanie, did you pick up this golden book yet? I feel like you're going to need it.
So I haven't yet, but I do collect them. And I will tell you, Rob, that the golden books take it from the perspective of a person coming into the attraction and what they see, right? We have the Haunted Mansion, we have the Jungle Cruise, we have multiple ones, and they are all, I went in, I got on my boat, here was the first joke that the guy said, and we turned the corner and saw the apes and this kind of thing. What are they going to say about this ride? I rode it for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and they did Tiana dirty. As a Louisiana native, they did Louisiana dirty. I'm sorry. It is a longer track, I think, at Walt Disney World, so maybe it plays better at Disneyland. But it was constantly, let's go find some more critters. Let's go find some more critters. Let's go find some more critters. Let's get small and find some more critters. And then we get big and we see the critters. So I don't know what the story is going to be in the Golden Book because I don't think there's any plot.
How dare you? You know what's so funny is when we rode it, my son was like, okay, whoa, back up. We went through the salt mine, which sounds like a bad idea, to get to the attraction where Tiana, who spent the entire first movie wanting to have her own restaurant, is now somehow in food distribution. Where did that happen? And he's just like, it's across the board. I'm like, now keep in mind, I liked the attraction. I thought it was good. Although, if you, again, follow WDWNT.com, you saw that, Lewis is not moving. Their biggest, most expensive animatronic that they have basically featured on the attraction, not working. It's just sitting there.
Three that we rode, when we rode, three of them, their mouths were not moving at all. Tiana, Lewis, and then one more in the end scene.
Did you pay for the upgrade?
No, that's probably my problem.
Yeah, that's probably it. They just nod at you if you don't pay for the upgrade. But again, one thing that I've read somewhere, and they didn't cover this at D23, is there's supposed to be a Tiana show, a TV show coming. Yes. And the TV show apparently delves into her life in the food distribution world. So maybe we'll get some stuff and some spoilers there. And so again, when I was talking to my son about that, he's like, whoa. So they made an attraction, and now they're going to have to make a TV show to explain the attraction that they already made. And I'm like, no, you're fine. Shut up. We're good. I don't stop asking questions. But one other thing I wanted to mention about this is, if you're headed out there, is that that Disneyland park passes are sold out for the opening day. And that says sold out, but I mean, they're just gone for opening day of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. So if you guys are headed out there, you may want to keep trying to be able to see it. But again, this goes back to the whole thing about virtual queues and park passes. Is all the things we used to think we could do is just show up and do things you can't necessarily do. Kamila, do you want to talk about this before we move on?
No, I mean, I haven't had a chance to ride yet, so, and I've really been trying to avoid as many spoilers as possible.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
No, but it's okay. But I am curious, so I'll have a chance. I'll be at Disney World in November, so that'll be the first time that I'm able to probably check out the ride. But I am curious if they're gonna do the Disneyland version any differently.
Gotcha.
I'll say that.
By the way, Rob, I don't know if you're reading the chat or not, but your dog scared one of the cats.
Oh no, that's terrible. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Hey, I do have to say one thing here, Rob. I've asked a question. Am I the only person here who is terribly disappointed with the merch at Tiana? I mean, it was terrible. There was almost nothing there. My daughter loves Tiana, and we were looking for merch for her, and I couldn't find anything that I really liked. And we ended up getting a mid-tier tumbler, but I was willing to buy lots of Tiana stuff and just couldn't find anything that we liked.
Oh.
Well, when we went, it was the DVC preview. It just happened to work out that way is the DVC preview. I couldn't get into the AP preview, but I was able to get the DVC preview of, and had the privilege because we paid way too much for DVC, and then we had an opportunity to queue up and wait on the wait in line on the computer for hours on end, hoping to be able to get one. Did get one because we already had a reservation, etc. And so we did go, and it was well executed DVC. It was well executed. Like, we didn't have to do any of that. But the Critter Co-op wasn't open then. So like, even during AP previews, DVC previews, cast member previews, none of them had the merch. So I haven't seen it in person. But you didn't get one of the little fireflies in a bucket? You didn't get one of those?
Ray on the shoulder.
or the little the car with the critters in it? You didn't get that?
I didn't. Those must have been all sold out. I didn't see them.
Oh, gosh.
So bad. Okay. All right. Ronald said, it's okay. My cat is okay. All right. That's what I was worried about. So we're fine. Everybody's fine. Let's move on to talk about speaking of DVC. Oops. So speaking of DVC, there were a couple things that came up, and I kind of wanted to put it into DVC corner here. So one of them is the Island Tower, the controversial, divisive Island Tower situation. So the funny thing about this is that people, Allie, who frequents the show, her husband is from Hawaii. He is not happy about this. He says it's the Marriott, and basically not indicative of the culture. My wife is like, give it a chance. It could be great because we own DVC at the Poly. And I was really hoping there would be better amenities that we could siphon off of by going over there. But it's not really a thing. I can see you shaking your head, Stephanie. Do you have thoughts on the Island Tower before we move on to the next thing? I know you're a DVC member.
Right. So it's opening, supposedly, it's going to open in December. It's December 17th, something like that, right?
Yeah. Walt's birthday.
Okay. Well, there you go. Perfect tribute.
Happy birthday, Walt. It's a Hilton Garden Inn.
It's an abomination. I mean, we drove, so my husband, we went over to the Shades of Green and the golf course, Magnolia and everything while we were there a few weeks ago, and just driving past it, it's so ominous, and it just takes up so much of your. The Poly is beautiful. The log houses are gorgeous. Why they couldn't just bring that height down some, I don't understand. I will say, though, I'm probably part of the problem too, because I'm looking for them to give me a really good discount on a cash only reservation.
Wow. Okay. All right, baller.
Well, they did that for Riviera. When they first opened, they did that for Riviera. For DVC members, they said if you pay cash only versus you're using your points, you get a huge discount. So we got into the Riviera, one and only time we stayed there, for a very good price within the first few months.
Now,
Rob, was I right that you are Grand Floridian? Is that where you bought into?
I'm Grand Floridian, but last week when I was there, I was actually staying at the Poly, so I was staring at this tower the whole time we were there. And you're right. At least on the outside, at least where it's at now. And keep in mind that the majority of the theming won't come in to the very end. But right now, it is a total eyesore. But if you take the time to listen to the Disney interior designer when they did the tour of the renderings and of the mock rooms, they put a lot of time and energy and thoughtfulness in there, and themes about the water, on the earth, of the. There's a lot there. It's not just a straight Moana themed place. There is actually some thought put into the culture and the woods and the materials they use. So I think it's a little bit more than probably what we're seeing just at the ugly photo on the outside. There will obviously be a different pool. There'll be the Moana themed splash pad. It's going to be a new restaurant that's in there, and there's going to be kind of these viewing areas that if you're staying there, you can use to watch the fireworks. There's also a gym, which surprisingly I didn't realize, but since I work out, a lot, you can tell by the physique I have. I was disappointed that they didn't have that I had to walk all the way over to the Grand Floridian to work out because there's not a gym at the original Poly. So they will be adding that to the tower.
I love I'm frustrated that I had to walk to work out. If you could just cart me over to work out,
Well, I end up just taking the
pick me
monorail,
up and
right?
put
The
me on the
monorail from Hollywood.
treadmill and then dab my head as I'm working out, that would be fantastic. I hate to get exercise on my way to exercise. That is literally the worst.
Exactly.
Here's the viewing area, and it already is looking swell. I wonder, that looks like you could fit about 20 people if you shove them shoulder to shoulder across. So I don't know. It almost looks like the Sky Suite at a like a an NFL game or something. So being able to see it might be cool. And again, we might get there and love it. I was looking again, watching the chat as we're talking about this, and Dawn said, "Well, if you're inside, you don't have to look at the outside." Okay, that's fair. That's really fair. And then Craig says Hilton Garden Inns aren't anywhere near as ugly as the Holiday Inn. I have not heard Holiday Inn so far. I feel like you can TM that one. That one's pretty awesome. And then of course you said splash pad, the Moana themed splash pad, and now Desi's in chat. Great, way to go.
Called her up.
Well, you summoned her. It's like saying the Beetlejuice 3 times. It's exactly the same.
Have you guys actually seen the room tours, the mock-ups? I mean, the rooms look really nice. I think, personally. I mean, you may not, but I like them a lot.
No, but again, they're very stark. And they're very, like, I like the vibe of the existing Poly when you're in there, where it feels like, I don't know, it feels more authentic
Like you're
to me.
stepping
But
back
again,
to the 1950s or 60s when you step into the Poly, you know? I mean, it does.
Exactly. No, you're right. Yeah. So we've got another super chat here before we move on. Michelle E says the lobby fills me with anxiety. It reminds me of the fancy living rooms we weren't allowed to go into as a child. So when you
don't spill anything.
So when Michelle pulls up to the guard gate and they go, "Welcome home," you're like, "Oh, whose home is it? It's not my home." Like, oh, that's awesome. And Michelle, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate you. Yeah, like now I'm picturing my grandmother's house with the plastic covered, covering on the couch so that nobody spills anything. It's great.
Hey, when do you guys think they're going to put those on sale? Are we looking at 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now? When the Poly Tower is going to go on sale?
Maybe November.
I don't know.
When they launch new property, typically they have pretty good existing DVC member discounts.
Right.
Yeah.
Just wondering.
Well,
I'm
again,
not saying I'm going to buy any, but I mean, if it was a good deal.
So wait a minute. You're going to go and buy in at the Holiday Inn and then break in and use your points to go to my resort? No, sir. No. No, thank you. No, thank you. It's fine. We're fine. We're all good family. It's great. Anyway, let's move on to one other thing I want to talk about DVC before we move on completely is the DVC Lounge, which is when I bought in, one of the things I was most excited about was the DVC Lounge at EPCOT that was basically where the old ImageWorks used to be, because I thought now I can go up where the ImageWorks are, and I'm sure the Rainbow Tunnel's still there. Nope. And that the tables with the pins. Nope. None of that stuff is still there. But there are Coke freestyle machines, and they will sell you. I bet, Rob, they will sell you the Holiday Inn points. But
they usually have goldfish too, Rob.
Oh, yes. My bad. And Oreos
packages.
Yeah,
Oreos maybe.
Cheez-Its.
If you get there early in the day, you might get some Oreos.
So they are refurbishing that lounge for our future enjoyment, which is good because I'm always afraid that it's going to go away. And they've said that it will feature engaging new exhibits of archival photos and images, a children's entertainment area, Wi-Fi, and member service advisors. There's where you get to spend your points. Honestly, the Starview Lounge out at Disney California, at Disneyland in California, I like better than this one because it has those pictures and things up in there. And then they have like the flight suit in a case and things like that. So, and then you have a view, you can walk out on the patio and look out over Tomorrowland. So to me, that one's better. I'm excited about the things and the upgrades that they're doing here. I'm still anxious to hear what the Frontierland shooting gallery is going to look like when they finish that one. But I love the fact that there's still going to be DVC lounges, because every time that they've talked about this lounge, they've said, we've renewed it for another year, and I just keep thinking, I thought this was a forever thing. Like,
Yes.
Stephanie, anything before we move on from that?
Yeah, I love this. I think that does get a little bit dicey whenever there's a lot of people there because they like take your reservation basically. And then when you go up there, they tell you this is your table. And you kind of feel like, well, it's not, I can't really stay here all that long, you know? Like they kind of have a time limit on you. But it's really neat. It's a neat view. You see Spaceship Earth outside of the windows there, and it's great for Insta.
The last time I was there, they had moved to that system where they seat you instead of like, hey, yeah, go on up. Grab a seat, grab some goldfish. Rob said you could. But instead they're like, all we have is a high top. Is that okay? And I'm like, oh, we're going to the lounge. What are you talking about? Like, this is weird. But yes, okay, sure, we can do that. Yeah, I did like it when you could just go and sit wherever you want to. Chill. But yeah. Hopefully it'll be a nice little upgrade. But again, there's a lot of space that they're not opening up. It's like if there's a problem with the limited space, then open up some of the rest of that level. Because again, I know from having worked that Journey into Imagination and ImageWorks that it goes way back there. Like you've got a lot more space unless they're using.
How about some restrooms up there? That would be fabulous.
Yes, thank you.
Nope, you've got to go downstairs. Out the door, behind the building, and you got to hear the 1992 music loop, not the original 1982 music or 83 music loop. But we already talked about that last week. Final topic here for the night is that we talked about this last week, that the Walt Disney World water parks, which I don't usually love water parks, but those two water parks that they have there are great. And kids, there used to be 3. It was called River Country. Look it up. But there are 2 water parks, but they have not both been open at the same time. It's this like passing in the middle of the night situation that happens with these water parks now. Where you can't have both. You can't have Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon anymore. So with that said, there is the return of the Walt Disney World Water Park Seasonal Pass, and it returns for the 2024-2025 season. It's an interesting thing if you look at this pass, like how it plays out is you get into this pass now, which summer is basically over. I don't know if you know that Labor Day means that, but summer is basically over. And then they'll give you until May of next year, but you don't get to go during spring break. I don't know. Stephanie, do you guys go to the water parks when you go down?
We do, but and it doesn't matter what time of year it is, if it's February or January, my kids are like, where's the pool? We're going to jump in, so it doesn't really matter. It's somebody who lives in the South, and we do get colder weather, like I said, January, February, but in Florida, it's warm year round. So yeah, this might work for people who live down there and, want to do something fun with their kids on the weekends, and hey, why not?
Yeah, and honestly, it's not a bad deal if you look here at a one-day water park ticket. If you don't have any discounts, is $74. The seasonal pass is $79. So, like for an extra $5, you're almost hedging your bets to go, what if I go one more time in the next 9 months? I'm just curious, Kamila, and I know you were like, no, thank you, about water parks, but when people, I know that you've booked trips in the past, when people are booking, do they get excited about the Disney World water parks, or is that just something like, do you have to like sell them on that?
I mean, it's something that I mention, but very rarely am I seeing people add it on. It used to be, I feel like, a little more popular when you could do the water park and sports, and there were actually kind of more in the sports offering area, but that's been pared down so much, and so not often. But I do agree that usually if there's a conversation about adding it, there's also a conversation about, hey, for just a little bit more money, you could do it this way if you plan to go more often.
Yeah, and the if you want to add it onto your annual pass, I think it's like $84 to do it, which again, you're hedging your bets at that point. Like my daughter wanted to go like 2 years ago, and I had considered the possibility of upgrading our annual passes just in case we went twice. Thank goodness I didn't, because we only went the one time. And if you have DVC or AP, I think you can get it for like $49 for a ticket. So, but they're great. Like, the water parks are great, and I'm a little frustrated that they don't open them both. The one deal that they have offered, and we talked about this on last week's show, is you get your if you book through, I think it's the Disney travel agency, you get your first. Yeah, you get your first day that you're there, you can have a free water park ticket. The first day that you're there. So God knows what time you get there, and then you can't check in your room until 3, and you can't check in until 3, and I think they close at like 5. And so it seems like it's like that's, I don't know. It seems a little bit of a slight to give it to you that day.
I feel like it's also Disney signaling that the old days of, oh, I'll just let Disney know that our flight's going to arrive around 11, so hopefully our room can be ready. I feel like it's them being like, no, not until the actual check-in time. Like, I feel like the old days of trying to accommodate are going away quickly.
Can we check in at 3?
This is a nice little,
Yeah, can we check in at 3? No, you can go to the water park.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
It's magical.
That sound means it's about time to go. Thank you so much for watching tonight. We appreciate it. Thank you. A big shout out to our WIGS members. We love the WIGS. The WDWNT Inner Globe Society is what that stands for. It's not WIGS, it's WIGS. Thank you guys so much for being part of the family. We appreciate it. If you want to learn more about the program, go to patreon.com/WDWNT. We hope you enjoy watching ParksCenter. We're here every Sunday night. We're here for you. We're here live every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Please tell a friend, bring the kids, bring the dogs. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be live every Sunday night at 9 p.m. So please come hang out with us. We appreciate you. Also, Deep in the Plus is a show we do also live every Wednesday. This is what's coming up. We just did Toy Story. And then Never Been Kissed is this Wednesday night, and then Return to Oz on the 18th with Ron Deanna's coming back to talk about that one. Love talking to Ron about movies. And then Desi's going to be on the 25th about Epcot becoming, I think it was Jay Ware in chat last week said, can we downvote Epcot becoming? I was like, you can show up and roast it if you want to, but we're still going to talk about it. So it was an interesting, I mean, if y'all haven't watched it, watch it, but we we'll be talking about that on the 25th. Then we get into spooky season, and we'll be talking about some things, including Girl versus Monster and the Mickey Mouse Halloween special from the new Mickey Mouse. So thank you guys for being with us. We appreciate it. If you are a WIGS member, we do have a quick post show after this. So thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have an amazing week. Thank you for joining us on ParksCenter, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Dun, 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 dun. Dun. Dun, 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 dun.